Hey everyone, we are live again. Welcome back to this wonderful channel. I myself, Allegra Jackson, the marketing medulla, and Miss TCO Kerr. We are out here giving you guys some more information about the Big Brand Small Business series that we've been doing. Really excited about this because I've learned so much. Myself and TC have shared some of the things that we've done in our own business that has allowed us to grow just by telling these stories. And today we are on Big Brand Small Business KFC's journey from roadside to restaurant. We're going to share the actual presentation that myself and TC go through. Before we talk to you about this, we do our own research and look into the KFC history. And, it's very interesting to see how the humble beginnings of a lot of these businesses look. We start our own businesses with this idea that, our small business isn't really that big. But when we really look at the background of these companies and the perspective that they have from the beginning, whether they were a student in college or, just starting out in the workforce and really wanting to have a bigger vision for their life, these individuals of these companies that we now consider these big brands started right where you are, right where we are. And we're using them as an example to really see through what works well for people when they build their big brands and kind of look at that as a modeling piece for ourselves. I have seen the big results from some of the things that I've done. I see TC change some things because I think TC, you had like a new logo and this. I mean, it was just so amazing seeing the brand up. But one thing we're going to do today is go through it again, and we're going to give a little bit of history of who the owner of KFC is, where he started, why it started, and this is pretty deep. So you guys want to really listen and share this with your friends, okay? Because sometimes we think we know why a business is what it is until we realize that the facts are that they really just simply fulfill a basic need, something that everybody is really already looking for. And we'll break that down for you. I'm Allegra, the marketing medulla. I'm a business coach, marketing strategist, and entrepreneur of many years. I work with women entrepreneurs mainly to assist them to start, grow, and scale their businesses. If you're a woman in business and you've been a little lost in it for a long time because things get in the way, family, health, all these things, we create strategies and support systems to make sure that you can go through the process and you can still really sustain your business with the right resources and support. I have TC here as a partner in business. TC, please introduce yourself and then let's get into this topic.
Absolutely. It's so good to be here, everyone. I hope you have your notepad, your pen, because we're about to dissect KFC's journey. It's an amazing journey, and I feel like with KFC's journey, it's literally that stage where we are right now in our business, in the world as a whole, because everything is happening, right? We just want to see how we're able to leverage every single circumstance that we find ourselves in, be it in our business, be it in our personal life, be it in, the political affairs of our lives, We want to figure out ways that we can take advantage of all of this, little bit setbacks. Let us turn those setbacks into opportunities. And that's basically what we're going to be deep diving into today. So I hope you have all of your questions and not to worry, even though you are late, even if you get late to the live series, you can always plug in your chat while you're watching. Plug in your questions while you're watching the replays, okay? We'll definitely be somewhere in the comment section answering all of your questions. As always, my name is TC Okore. I'm always very excited, to talk about all things back end, from your launches, your systems, your workflow automations, ensuring that your campaigns are being done, intentionally, strategically, so you're able to attract the right audience, connect with them, and most importantly, build that structure that will build you the legacy that you desire. But I really do hope that you get to ask all of your questions, because KS's story is one story that touches, I would say it touches every small business. So you want to be a part of it. All right. Over to you, Lega.
Thank you, TC. And I will be sharing the document with you all because we did write out something for you all to see. which is basically a shared form that we write up and talk about their origins. We felt like it was good for us to share it with you all so that you can get a perspective on, exactly how we look at this thing. And while we're talking about it, you can have your chance to read through it. We probably will put a lot of these documents in articles for you, because as we're building on this series, we have lots of people that are like, I never knew that. I didn't realize that. And you won't know what you don't know until you know it. So as we're expressing this stuff, y'all, listen, if there's something in there that you like see and you're like, I did not know that, let us know, because we do this all the time. And if you look at KFC, my first experience, TC, have y'all ever had KFC before? Please put it in the chat if y'all have. It is like this, fast food chicken that's like very southern, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like comfort food, right? I remember when I was growing up, I would always like hear KFC, the Colonel. And I think it's really important when you start to experience the brand yourself that you understand what that brand really is, because I was just looking at this and just didn't even realize that KFC started in the 1930s with the Great Depression. I had no idea. I'm just thinking this is some good chicken, right? This is some good chicken, right? And I think when we look at this, so let's talk about it, because it was rooted in resilience, it says, and ingenuity. So Colonel Sanders, KFC's owner, right? He started it in the Great Depression, and obviously a challenging time. When I think about that, I think about today. We're in a challenging time in our world. A lot of people may not look at this as a challenge in a way, but in history, we're going to be in the history books, right? They're going to be like, oh my God, they went through a pandemic. Oh my goodness. Like they had a president of that. So they're going to be reading about us in the future. But right now we are creating the history. And so as I'm looking at the Great Depression, I'm like, wow, in the midst of that, he decided to start serving food to travelers, right? Like these are people who probably were just going through their day to day. And I see that a lot for us, TC, too. Like I'm dealing with a lot of things around me where people are just busy, right? They're just like, okay, I just got to get through this day. I just got to get through this day. And they're really like trying to figure out how to feel really good about their day. And this guy is a chef, right? Like, so Colonel Sanders is a chef, and he figured out a way to just take his natural talent and, to make that experience, right? The hospitality experience, and to take it to people and to bring that to wherever they are. And I said to TC before we did this live, y'all, I said, TC, he was like doing to-go food deliveries before that was even a thing. Today, we look at it like, oh, this is a really new and interesting thing, right? Like we get to order and we get the food delivered to us, but they were doing it back in the day as a chef, just, making sure that people could get easy access and convenience to food. And it's something very simple, but if you read on, it's talking about, he was managing a station, right? And so when he started serving to travelers, and this is another thing, it had 11 herbs and spices. He used a pressure cooker. And so from the standpoint of what I guess they were using back then, that was high quality, right? Like he was using like really like good equipment to make the best food. And you know what, TC, that reminds me of something, because how many times have y'all like cut corners in your business, right? Like how many times have we been like, okay, well, I don't want to spend that much money. I'm just gonna, do it this way. I'm gonna DIY it, and I'll get the lesser expensive, thing that I need to make this amazing business. And sometimes, and this is what it kind of brings up for me, and I want to hear from you as well, TC, because this is the origins. He was already thinking big before he was big. He wasn't like, oh, let me start out with a little pot because I just need to like serve chicken real quick, right? He was like, I'm gonna get the pressure cooker, I'm gonna get the high quality stuff, and I'm gonna serve really good fried chicken with 11 herbs and spices. Like How many times do they cheap, be a little cheap on the seasoning? You'd be like, they could have seasoned that chicken a little bit better, right? And so I think about this because back then there had to been a glamorous effect, like, oh, this chicken's so good and it's quality, and that experience is, I believe, more important than the chicken itself. And so I think sometimes in our businesses, we have to understand that, yeah, we sell stuff, we do, but what makes it so different? What makes your chicken so different than the other person's chicken? Like, what makes your business and what you do so much more different than the other person doing the same thing? And I think sometimes, TC, that's where we get a little bit discouraged, because if you're building a business and you have a great idea and you know that you want to help and serve people, if you just go after that goal and you don't worry about, what everyone else is doing, you don't compare yourself to other businesses, right? Then you'll just start attributing the things that you like to what you do, and it will just naturally be different and unique. But sometimes we're so caught up in everyone else's stuff that we're like, oh, I'm gonna do it like them. That sounds like a good idea. Let me try that. And trying so many different things, it's good. Try new things, right? Be creative. But sometimes we have to evaluate where that's really coming from. Because from what I'm seeing, he was doing something that no one else was really doing at the time. But we'll go a little bit further into that. TC, I'll pass the mic over.
Now, while you were speaking, I was thinking to myself, right? Um, there was a time I was in a conversation with a friend, and she actually wanted to start her business. And I remember when she said, we talked about, oh, you know what, find that thing that is different, in what you do and blah, blah, blah. And then she said, I don't know what is unique. I feel like everybody else does it. I also feel like everybody can do what I do. I mean, but the truth is that no one can do it the way I do it. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that the way I do it is magical. Listen, it's the fact that I am me. Just the fact that I am me. It's on its own, because there can't be two of me. Think about it. The way I sound. Oh, somebody would say, "Oh, but we can use AI. Try it. Let's see how good it comes out." I mean, you want to try it. No one would sound like me. No one would, you can try to imitate, but it can't be like the original, right? Now, the truth is, it would take them so much work for them to replicate who you are. And that's such an intentional. And I'm like, if you can sit down to try to replicate who I am, I'm like, oh my gosh, you have so much time. Then we need to study you, because it means that you are. I don't want to even think about it, because that's a level of something else we won't talk about, really. But you see, the truth is, there is always something unique, right, about what you do. You just need to look from the inside, right? It could be how you do it, or how you place it, or how you feel about it, right? We just need to understand that that whole sauce that we need to make us stand out. It doesn't necessarily, you see, the problem here, I also feel, is the fact that we always like to look for that big thing. And we forget that what necessarily makes the difference is something really very small. It's not always very big. It's because we want to wait for the perfect thing. We want to wait for the big thing. Imagine if KFC had waited, right, for when the economy was brilliant. The economy was just perfect for entrepreneurship. The economy was this. This was like, it was all amazing. It can never be all perfect, right? We just need to figure out the perfection in every imperfect scenarios. I mean, that's what makes us business owners. That's what makes us entrepreneurs, if we think about it. So to your point, Allegra, I personally feel like there's always this source in every business. As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as what you do, you just need to find it. right? And the little thing I'm going to add to this is the fact that it's usually that thing that would differentiate you is usually not a big thing. It's usually very small. It could be, if you're a coach, you're a consultant, it could be a little gesture that you unintentionally put in. That might just be what stands you out from the next person. What makes people want to watch your videos? What makes people want to listen to you? It could be something. It could be the way you switch in your. It could just be anything, but very little. We just need to find that unique point, that unique sauce, because that's basically what makes us different. That's what makes us stand out, and that's what you will have to stand with to then follow through with your path, right? So to your point, yeah, I always feel like if these big brands that we keep talking about has waited, if they had waited in a time in the, at the time at when they started, if they waited for the perfect scenario, for the perfect policy, for the perfect president, for the perfect road, for the perfect scenarios, for the perfect everything, literally, I'm not sure we would have KFC today. I mean, there's so many chicken restaurants. There's so many spicy chicken, crunchy chicken everywhere right now. But KFC is still KFC. It can crunch the way you want to crunch, but KFC is still KFC. And I'm still gonna have to want to go to KFC to buy a bowl of chicken, compared to if I'm going to, like, hey, there is so many of them. I'm not going to name names, but when we want to do, like, that part where we say cheat day, everybody close your eyes, even if you're going to add how many pounds, you just know it's a cheat day. Just go there, just buy like two bowls, or finish one, and then we'll put another one in the freezer. And then I remember my husband would say, it's cheat day, right? I said yes. I said, but when you eat, I be the one to add weight, and then you lose. But at the end of the day, it's still what it is. So that's where I'm going to stop for now. Legba be like laughing. You like the sound of chicken, right?
It's,
Allegra loves chicken. Yeah.
it ain't it. Listen, when I was back in the day, I ate a lot of chicken. I don't eat chicken like that no more. I cheat with chicken because the truth is that I just changed my diet. That's all. I just changed my diet. But if I was gonna eat chicken at any time, that Kentucky Fried Chicken is not just about it's not just about the chicken itself now, right? Now, back then, I think that that's the important part, TC, when you said that, it was in a time where most people would just give up. It was in a time where most people didn't even think about starting a business. It's like, what? Starting a business? It's the Great Depression. You're crazy. And the truth is that I've run across so many business owners, even myself, that we have an idea and it's so prominent. And it's like, you want to do it now, and everything around you is like, no, it's not the right time, you shouldn't, it's got to be perfect. And the truth is that when you have a gut feeling to do something right now, you do it, because the best businesses come out of the worst times. If y'all ever look at business in the past, it's always comes in the worst times, because the reason why businesses survive is because there are so many people that are in need. So if people are not in need, then you would have no need for a business, right? I heard someone say this before. They said, I don't serve anyone from a problem standpoint. Like you shouldn't have to solve a problem with your business. And the truth is, and here's the real deal: people don't buy because they're happy. People don't buy because they're just like, oh, my life is good, right? People buy through emotion. So if you're giving them a reason to feel excited, they're going to buy. If they're excited about something and you're giving them something to keep their momentum, they're going to buy. If they have a problem and their problem is really bad and you have a solution, they're going to buy. Either way, you're creating something for them that they need. So whether you're saying that I don't want to work with people that have a lot of problems, you don't have to. You just have to find someone that needs a solution for whatever it is that they need. So we have to put it in perspective, because the Great Depression was one of those times where, someone that would say that would be like, I'm not starting a business now. I'm not doing that. There's too many people acting like they in pain. Well, that's why you're there. You're there to help fulfill a need. So anyone that starts a business, and this is what I always tell my clients too, if you come and you want to start a business and you don't want to fulfill a need, don't start a business. Have a hobby, do something fun, charge people for it, right? But if you want to start a business, you're going to have to be able to fulfill needs, because that is where you get the most impact. And I love the fact that Colonel Sanders, right? I'm gonna share this screen again, because TC, another thing that came up was not about the fact that, because this is all wrong. For any business owner today, they would look at this and be like, I would never start a business now. But how many businesses were started in the pandemic? Right? And so we have to realize that that's where you can grasp hold. But so if you were that type of person that you started in the pandemic, like a lot of people did, and you're like, wow, like I fulfilled a need. There are two different types of business owners. There were some business owners that were like, nothing happened for me, I had to go back to work. And there were some business owners that said, oh my God, I opened it up in the pandemic and I skyrocketed. And, so you have to look at, well, what worked and what didn't for that person. That doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you. Colonel Sanders was 62 years old. He was 62 years old with this idea. Okay, I'm gonna share the screen again because y'all gotta see this. This is flipping me out, because I work with different avatars in my programs, and one of my avatars includes the 60 above. And in that avatar, one of the main things that I talk about is how to really go back and renew the mind. Because a lot of times we get very settled in our ways and we just kind of have beliefs that aren't real, aren't true. And so we have to go back to the beginning. And some of these things that I'm looking at, like Colonel Sanders being 62, it shows that people that say, oh, I'm too old to do it, you're never too old to do it. If you are 62 or 65 or 67, whatever, if you're 85, you can start your business right now. You can start in this time where people are in need, are needing something, right? I was just thinking about this, CC. I called you, well, I talked to you a couple times this week, and we were talking about, recent things that have happened here in the US. And a lot of people are really having a hard time, right? Like people are really having spouts of like mental health, like their minds are kind of like in chaos. Their mental health is at stake. Their self-care is in chaos. I was talking to someone that said, I just want to put my head in the sand for the next 4 years. I don't even want to go to work. And, something about that leads me to believe that there's opportunity for someone, right? So if you are a person in business and you supply self-care, healing, right? Renewing of the mind, understanding how people can get through hard times, this is the perfect time to stand up for your business. And if you are starting a new business and you're like, I just never did it and I feel too old, whatever the case may be, you have no excuse. You have zero excuses, right? So I love this because Colonel Sanders in 1952, you know what I'm saying? Years later, after he started this at a station, y'all, he was at a station serving chicken. He literally never gave up on his idea. Never gave up on his idea. And so he set out to franchise it now, because it's not about, hey, I have the business, I'm gonna do it alone. We talk about that all the time, TC. We say, well, what is it about you and your business that you think can be sustainable with just you by yourself? I get frustrated trying to live my regular life, let alone without help, let alone the business, right? Like think about like your home. Like it feels so much better when I call, the company to come clean my house opposed to me having to clean it myself, right? I feel better when, I have support. Like if I have children, it would be nice to have someone there to support when I just need a mental break, right? It's nice to have someone to, help with organizing tasks or your finances, right? It's good to have that support. And it's funny because in real life, a lot of us do not have that. So in our business, when we start our businesses, we transfer the same energy. And so we do not grow. So we'll end up doing everything, working in every department of our business without actually saying, wait a minute, I don't have to do everything. I can actually hire someone. I could support someone on contract. I could ask for help and see if they're willing to trade, right? Because everything is not about money. So it's really important to understand that every brand that we've come across, even this one, he had to at some point in time say, I can't do it alone. And that's the best part for me, because I'm waiting, TC, to find one brand that did it alone. I'm waiting for one. And out of all these brands that we still see here today, and you talk about creating a legacy, I hear so many people say, I want to have a business so I can create a legacy. It's not about the money for me, right? And it's good, because you're going to have to get the money anyway. But it's not the end all be all. But if you want to create a legacy, you got to start right now. You got to build on the ideas that you have right now, and you have to build on it. And so in 1952, a few 20 years later or so, for 50, yeah. So he's basically, starting. He had a recipe, special recipe. So of course, at 62, he franchises it. And in a franchise, you have the same consistent measure across the board. So that means that he had to have things in place. He had to know exactly what the measurements were for that recipe. He had to know how to delegate that information so that every single person that started a KFC knew what the recipe was, right? So this actually is intentional, because sometimes I think that we get so caught up in the tools, TC. Like, oh my God, I got to do an SOP. And oh my God, I got to do CRMs. And oh, I got to do this. That we forget that all it is it's coming from a place of being able to structure something that you love and put it in a process so that someone else can love it just as much. When he passed down this recipe, I'm sure he was very passionate to say, I'm going to make sure that everybody makes it the same way. So I'm going to write down all the measurements. I'm going to write down what I did with it. And I want to make sure that every single franchise has a written opportunity to see, so they don't have to guess. And that's kind of what I think about when I think about our tools in business. And so I always use that. And looking at this is another example that, business comes from a very soulful place. We've just enhanced it with tools and resources that we have today. And that's what that reminds me of. TC, I'll pass it back over to you before we get to the growth.
There's something that you said. I'm excited that we said this, right? Because in the past, we've had business owners, entrepreneurs say something like, oh, no, I don't think I need systems. Or, no, I don't think I need to do this. No, I think my business needs to be like 5 years, 10 years, 1 billion years before I start to put in the right, systems in place and all of that. And then we forget that I don't know, maybe it's the word. Maybe the word just looks very big, right? Imagine if this amazing man didn't take that initiative to document his process. We would not have the different franchise. Do you know that KFC is a franchise? Do you know that it is international? Imagine, like, how do you think the guy is able to multiply and replicate his recipes himself, the way he does his business? If he did, do you know another thing, that the more you go into your business, the more the difficult it is for you to intentionally document these processes, because now it's not very stressful. And then you just have to start to do this. And you start to do that. You'd be like, oh my God, I have to do this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm burnt out. Like, I mean, why don't you just do it from the get-go? I mean, you're not started yet. You start to put all of these things in place. Now, the beauty about this thing is that once you have this, you can always go back to update. Yeah, because we're not saying that how you started 1 year ago is going to be how you're going to be 2 years now. No, we're saying that when you have the system, your system needs to be scalable. Whoever tells you that you have one system now and it's going to stay like that and it's all rigid and that's how you go, like, woo, and 10 years down the line, that's the way it goes. No, it's not going to be that way. A powerful system is scalable, it is flexible, it is auditable. It moves with you. You can update it, tweak it, move it. Tennis. That's how beautiful a system is. And a system doesn't necessarily mean we are talking about go high level. No, 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 that's not, that's a tool. That's a software. Like that was how many days, how many years? 1919, we're talking 1950 something. Maybe he just wrote down he on a piece of paper, and he just took a pen and he just documented it down. It could actually even be maybe a very small clause, and it's like he put it in there. Now we have them good tools where you don't have to do that, and you'd be like, oh, I'm just gonna type something on my phone and I press play and the thing goes to my CRM. Yeah, you can have those apps on your phones. But that is not the system here. That's not the process. That's what we keep talking about. Now, as you can see, imagine if KFC had not done what he did, right? We won't have such an organized, crunchy, you know, because now tomorrow you will go to India and then you're tasting a KFC that tastes like burger, vegetarian burger. Or you go to KFC in Africa and then you're tasting a type of KFC that tastes like I'm trying to look at and then you're just having scattered varieties. Now that is what happens. Now imagine when you say, okay, you know what? Now I want to implement technology. You're going to do what? Automate skills. That's what happens. That is why so many people, the best they can do is to grow, but they can't sustain that growth. That's the problem. Like you start to do well, and all of a sudden you just get stuck. Because at that particular point, you can't move backward, you can't move forward, you're frustrated. You see, so I love the fact that, Allegra mentioned that. And, when we think about all of these big brands, we think they're doing something very gigantic. They're doing things, or rather, they did things that have helped them get to this stage that we're talking about, the stage that we both want to be in. So when I have systems that work, Allegra has systems that work, and then we come here and tell you have your system, we are not saying go get a tool, because these tools will change, but your system is scalable. It breeds you. It breeds your uniqueness. That's what we're talking about. Now, if you've been hearing on Fiverr or hearing on all of these places and people be like, system, now hear it well. If KFC had go high level then, did they? In 1952, did they? No, I mean, they didn't. So what are we talking about? Did that stop KFC from becoming that legacy? I mean, I wasn't even born. I'm sure my mom and my mom and dad already married. I'm not sure. Are you sure they even have met? So at the end of the day, we want to think about these things, right? We want to understand that the business we have today, we can take it to that next level when we at least have little things like documenting this process, and there are very simple ways to do that. Personally, I think I love this series a whole lot. You know why? Because it is very relatable. It helps us